Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a new episode of the FinTech Hunting podcast. We have an amazing guest for you today. He's an industry thought leader, author of Failing Forward, Mishaps on the Road to Happiness. He's a Housing Wire insider. He's host of Laugh, Lend, Eat, the podcast. People, please help me welcome back to the show, Fobby Naghmi, Senior Vice President of Homecoming Mortgage. Fobby, welcome to the show.
Wow. I am pumped, brother. I am like ready to drive through a wall right now for you, Michael.
Awesome. Well, it is great to have you back.
Thank
You're
you.
doing so many incredible things. We can take this discussion so many different routes. Your podcast is hugely successful. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
But you're also a lender, and I would be remiss. My audience loves to hear from a lender perspective. Give me some of your observations on the market. We all know it's kind of tough, but tell me kind of some of the things you're seeing, some of the things maybe that are working out there, and then we'll dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously you said it's a tough market. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, there is it's unprecedented, right? Because of the low inventory that we're dealing with, and the demand for housing doesn't seem to be waning at all. So you're coupled with that, with the higher interest rate, where we were thinking that the rates were going to come back down, and hasn't happened yet. I do believe that by the end of the year, we'll start seeing some improvements on rates. That's what the numbers are showing. What we're doing today, Michael, as a lender to kind of stay top of mind, stay fresh, is we've taken on multiple campaigns that don't include existing home sales as part of our marketing efforts.
I love that. Tell me a little bit more specifically, like what type of campaigns, because so many times people only focus on how do I get a new borrower in the door right now? How do I close a deal right now? Very transaction focused. And what I'd love to hear what you're talking about is really how do I foster and grow relationships instead of just a transaction?
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's about we're selective about who we partner with first and foremost, right? So we want to make sure that it's a two-way street. The days of the one-way street realtor loan officer relationship have come to an end. I know people were thinking it's going to be coming to an end momentarily, but I think it's already happened. You know what I mean? So we're looking at builder relationships. We're looking at broker JVs. We're looking at all sorts of different opportunities that don't make us relying on just one person and one source. Also, we're looking at look, Michael, there is 985 trillion or billion, I think it's billion, sorry, $985 billion of the credit card debt on the American household right now.
Wow.
Right? Those are the numbers, right? And so when you look at those numbers and you look at how many of those are homeowners with that kind of debt, right? Well, then you know that home equity cash out refinancing has to be a campaign that every lender should be forging towards. And so our campaign really started as simple as we had a spokesperson saying, look, 3% on your mortgage is cool, but 23% on your credit card's not. And so
true. And
like that, you know what I mean?
And so many times borrowers don't look at it that way, but when you make it that simple,
yeah,
right? Here's what your mortgage rate is, and here's what you're paying on credit card, and it's compounding each month. And there's so many other factors that go into it. I love it. Give me a little bit more of what are some of the other campaigns?
I think some of the other campaigns really are more builder focused, helping builders understand that we're going to give them options that sometimes other lenders may not. We have a plethora of different programs that we're offering. We're also looking at non-QM product offerings more aggressively today than we probably have in the past, as a way of attracting builders that may not be offering non-QM. I mean, look, obviously they are, but there's some programs that are available through certain lenders like us that I think we can make a bigger case for you teaming up with us. We may not be their number one, but maybe we could be their number 2 or number 3 lender of choice. And so, quite honestly, if you can become that priority of a lender for any builder, because look, existing home sales are what they are, right?
That's
but
right.
If we know builder communities out there putting up new construction, delivering on new houses, we want to be part of that. One of the things that we have really introduced through Homecomings is a program we call Buy Now, Sell Later, which is a 0%. Basically, I know people call it a bridge loan, but it's not really a bridge loan because it's 0%. And what we allow the homeowners to do is buy the house and sell their home up to 6 months, take up to 6 months to sell it.
Awesome.
So often we were getting this feedback from our loan officers or the realtor community saying, look, I got buyers that are afraid to put their house in the market because they know their house will sell in 24 hours. They just don't know where they're going to buy.
Yep.
And so we take that contingency and that stress out of that by buy now, sell later. You can buy the house. We buy the house for you. You move in the next day after settlement. So it's not like you're waiting. You know what I mean? And now you got 6 months to sell your house. Some people say, look, I want to improve my house before I put it on the market. Maybe I can make $80,000 more by improving.
Right.
Well,
Yep.
move out of the house and make the improvements. So these are little programs that we've started, I think, that are making a little bit of difference in our loan officers and our sales teams' lives.
Well, Fobby, I want to switch gears a little bit. And I think one of the topics that shocks a lot of people is they've heard about a lot of companies have had to make cuts and everything like that. It's a tough market. And while all of that's true, what I don't think people realize is there's a battle for top producers, and almost every mortgage company is out there heavily recruiting those top producers. So talk to me about the importance of recruiting and really attracting that top talent.
Yeah, I mean, that movie, Glenn Ross, whatever that was, right?
Yep.
When the guy says ABC, always be closing, right? And I think we should be ABR, always be recruiting, right? Because it's a 24/7 job. It's a 20, you know what I mean? And too often, Michael, I think people look at recruiting as I'm going to call 20 loan officers, I'm going to make 7 appointments, and then I'm going to hire 1 loan officer. And good recruiting to quality mortgage professionals doesn't occur that way. Good recruiting, good placement occurs by creating relationships that are more about what's beneficial for the candidate. And I say this repeatedly, Michael, sometimes staying where they are is the best outcome for that candidate. And we have to be smart enough and have, to your point from this morning, have that abundance mindset to say, hey, you're okay where you are. And not force them to sign that dotted line just to close the deal.
And that person is going to respect you a ton more, and they're going to remember that. And when their situation changes, when a life event happens, and they're like, maybe it's time for me to move on, your company is going to be the first they call. Now, we're on the FinTech Hunting podcast, and I think what I want to lean into is let's talk about all of the new technology and how important technology is for the recruiting, for this B2B interaction and fostering relationships with loan officers.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's something that we take pride at Homecomings. We have been developing something for the past 2.5 years, my business partner and myself, John Perry. It's called the Simple CRM, SIMPL, without the E, right? Simple CRM. I think John had some acronym for it, by the way, so I don't know the acronym by heart. I'm not going to lie to you, Michael, make up something, right? But we've been working on it for 2.5 years, and basically what it allows our managers to do is my ask of John was I wanted a CRM platform that would give you could do 15 minutes a day, 20 minutes max, right? But 3 days a week. And with those 20 minutes for 3 days a week, you could get as impactful as the most amazing recruiter out there in the industry. And the way we were able to do that, Michael, is simple, right? We were able to feed in data for mortgage professionals, right? So I know there's companies out there that sell that data. That's great. You know what I mean? There's one company in particular that sells it for 14 months. You know what I mean? History. Ours has a 36-month history. So we're able to see for 36 months what a loan officer has done, which is, I think, tells a bigger story.
Well, and I think let's stop there for a second. I think having that visibility is so critical. I think too many times, a loan officer is talking about what they did 2 years ago when the market was booming. Well, guess what? So was everybody else.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of this bravado of, hey, man, this is how much I deserve. This is the kind of signing bonus I have. And then you look at them and you're like, yeah, but you've closed 2 purchase transactions this year. What am I missing?
Or even worse, Michael, the one, this is a real life story. You know what I mean? There was a candidate, $82 million in production by themselves, right? But 94% of it was refinance.
Yeah, they have no pipeline right now to help you out at all, no purchase. And I think having that information at your disposal and then being able to act on it. So talk about the importance of being able to act on it and foster those relationships through your Simple CRM.
You hit it right on the head, right? I mean, we all had information, right? We all had information, and then we were all out there trying to search. And okay, how do I find Michael Hammond's cell phone number? How do I find Michael Hammond's contact? How do I get in touch? You know what I mean? And what we did with Simple CRM was we hired a data miner, right? And basically, we were able to get cell phone numbers, email addresses, LinkedIn accounts, all that stuff put inside the CRM for our managers. And obviously, look, I mean, I make it sound simple, but it wasn't, right?
Right.
This
Very
was
time consuming to get all of that. But now
right.
that you have it, you have something very special and different than what most people can offer.
Right. And they can act on that information. So now, like we always say, information is key, right? But then the action behind what we do with the information is even more critical, right? So to me, it's like, okay, I got this, I got the production, I know it's the candidate I want to talk to, I have their cell phone number, I got that, and so I saved 10, 15 minutes of Googling, right? Now
Yep.
what do I do? Well, with Simple CRM, you can do a text message, you can call the person, you can send them an email, you can connect to their LinkedIn account and do a direct message on LinkedIn. So all within one platform. You never have to leave the platform. You're inside the platform the entire time.
So let's talk about that because I think it's critical. I want to make sure our listeners understand that. Not only is the data there, the fact that you're on the platform and you can access whatever distribution channel works best for you or for the recipient, whether it's text, email, phone call. But then because it is a CRM, it's storing all of that outreach and now you have information.
Yeah.
Hey, Sue is much more responsive to text messaging. I'm going to text message her. Bill's read my last 3 emails, but he's never touched a text message. You're now gaining insights on how to best reach out to these prospective loan officers. Is that correct?
That's correct. And also, we want to make sure something that John Perry is really huge on is that these are all compliant methods. So we are not violating any regulations or any policies that have been created. So it's really important that, look, if we understand we're not going to do mass emailings out of this thing. That is prohibited inside the platform, right? So you
Yep.
can't do that. We're not going to spam people. You're only allowed to text one person at a time. So it's just like if you're texting from your telephone. So there's no difference, right? Anytime the person can say stop and they'll be taken off of our list. You have to get permission to use the email portion of the CRM. So you have to say, okay, Michael gave me permission on this date to start emailing him. So those kind of things are already in place to make sure we're staying in compliance with the laws and regulations. So we don't want to be non-compliant at the same time.
Well, and I think that is so important. And the fact that you can ensure that compliance so your loan officer doesn't have to think about, hey, I feel a lot of pressure. I've got to bring on some more loan officers. We've really got to build up this branch or this
Yeah,
region. And then they forget about or they cut a corner. Now you're saying, hey, the system can ensure that they're doing it and doing it the right way.
right, right.
It will
And
also, I'm sure, as an executive, give you a lot of insights to what are the managers doing to outreach and grow their region, grow their branches.
well, look, man, it's tough being a producing manager. I've been there. You know, no matter if you're a producing branch manager, area manager, regional, I've done all those. You know what I mean? It's the toughest gig that I know of because, look, I remember this one guy, and I was telling the story to somebody else last week, where I had an appointment at 6 p.m. to go meet a recruit, and a realtor called me and said, "Could I take a loan app?" You know what I mean? At exactly the same time.
Yep.
And I was like, "Do I make $4,500, or do I go see a possible candidate that might join me tomorrow or sometime in the future, or say no?" You know what I mean? And Michael, I chose the $4,500 that night. Right? I went and took the loan app because I wasn't going to tell my realtor I'm busy. Just wasn't going and I know other producing managers struggle with the same situation every day. And Simple CRM fixes that because all we're asking is 20 minutes a day, do the proper steps, and then what happens is the system will automate your actions that are legal and compliant and will do it automatically on their behalf. And it's amazing. It's absolutely blew my mind when we were absolutely able to unveil this past January.
Let's talk about why technology is so important as a loan officer is looking for what company should I work with, not just from a simple CRM perspective in recruiting, but when I talk to loan officers, they want to know how quickly can my borrower fill out an application? Is the application easy? Am I going to be notified? Walk me through a little bit about the importance of the technology that a mortgage company can offer to their loan officers and branch managers.
Well, to me, I mean, I know it's kind of funny when I say this, right? It's like someone asking me, how important are wheels to a car?
I love it.
You know what I mean? It's like, well, without the wheels, you're not going anywhere. You could have the hottest engine in there and the most luxurious car, but you need wheels. It's as simple as that. And technology is the wheels of our industry today. It's been the industry, I mean, it's been the wheels for many industries. The mortgage industry is a little slower and a little bit archaic, but we've caught up now. And if you're not using technology, somebody else is. And that really is the catch. And we're seeing this more and more. That line, that delineation is occurring where people who refuse to jump on board to any kind of platforms, Fobby, you don't understand. I don't need a CRM. I know all my consumers here. I have this Excel spreadsheet, blah, blah. I mean, I heard it all, Michael. I heard it all, right? And now they're like, hey, by the way, can you teach me how to use this new LOS? Can you teach me how to use this new PO? You know what I mean? It's like you want to help them, but it's like they've already missed that line, and now they got to catch up.
Well, the comment you had that I really want to focus on, because I couldn't agree with you more, is for those that have not leaned in a tough market, it is a great time to differentiate and grab market share. It's not all about that instant dollar. And I think the companies that have done it, like yourself, who's leaned in, what are the technology tools that we can create? How can we give our branch managers tools? How do we leverage social media? How do we stay in front of potential clients and potential partners, whether it's a realtor or a builder? That's what's going to make a difference now in a tough market. And when the market shifts and rates go down, and you and I have both been in this industry long enough that we both know what's going to happen. We don't have a crystal ball. I don't know if it's going to be by the end of the year or first quarter or second quarter of next year, but rates will go down. The market's going to stabilize. Inventory will eventually start picking up. And guess what? The teams and the mortgage companies that leaned in now, did the right thing, strategically aligned, used the technology, are going to gain massive amounts of customers, build those relationships, and they're going to grow their businesses. Give me a little bit of insight on why it's so important to lean in.
I mean, look, without leaning in, you're basically leaning out. I mean, I know, once again, I try to make everything as simple as possible. So it's like, this is what I tell my guys, is like, this is the moment. Like, if you miss this moment and you don't learn and you don't lean in and embrace technology, somebody else is going to. And somebody else is going to be quicker, faster, I mean, more up to date. I mean, when we really think about this, and I think we all look, I mean, Amazon, right, has really kind of like, it's been a paradigm shift over the past like 10 years or whatever, right? But more so probably in the last 36 to 48 months, we've seen how Amazon really, really stepped up with the pandemic and how we all relied on this. Consumers want that same experience in everything they do now.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. That Amazon effect. I mean, if I order a book at 9 a.m, why the hell isn't it here by 3?
Thank you.
and that's a $10 or $15 book, and that's the kind of service level I expect. What do you think I expect if I'm buying a $500,000 home or a $750,000 home or $1 million home, and somebody doesn't get back to me for a week?
Yeah, I mean, look,
somebody can't tell me they got my documents and they got the information I need. Let's talk about AI a little bit, because I know one of the cool things that you've done.
One thing real quick, I want to make sure that people understand this. Consumers don't want to upload the same document multiple times. And you said it, right? But think about this. When I was a loan officer, right, and I'll admit it, Michael, I was probably not the most organized LO in the world. I call you up and say, Michael, I'm sorry, dude. I misplaced your bank statement. Could you fax them over to me again, right? That was the latest technology we had, was a fax machine back in those days. And you're like, yeah, whatever, right? But today, they're uploading it. We're connecting to the bank accounts. There's so much more available, right? That for somebody to miss that moment of technology and enable technology to help them have a better consumer experience is absolutely missing the boat.
Yeah, it's really inexcusable, right? Start using direct data sources, have that information. What's the most frustrating thing? You call in a customer support line or you call in with a question, they ask you the 5 standard features, and then you get transferred to someone else and like, could you give me your address? I'm like, what the hell? You have my address. Right. And all it does is instantly put me on the defensive and create that friction in the relationship. All right, let's talk AI. We've only got a couple more minutes. You and I could talk for hours. But you guys have incorporated a chat GPT tool into your
Simple.
CRM. Tell me about why do you do that? Where do you see some of the AI going?
Because I think it's imperative that once again, it lean into technology, right? So if the chat GPT is the latest technology, we got to lean into it, right? So that's first and foremost, right? Second of all, for me personally, when we were testing Simple CRM, we received a text from a potential candidate. I copied that text, and this was when it wasn't integrated into Simple, and I pasted this into ChatGPT, and I said, "Hey, what is this candidate really trying to tell me?" Because ChatGPT takes the emotions out, right?
Right.
It analyzed the text, and I said, "Okay, could you write a text back?" And I don't want to sound desperate, so don't sound desperate, sound casual. And it responded back with the text. I pasted back. Within, I would say, a day and a half, that Ken and I were on a Zoom call talking about the future of what he could do here.
That is a great example. And I think too many times when people talk AI, chat, Bard, or any of those, I think the misconception is, oh my gosh, it's going to take everybody's jobs. My firm belief is a tool like chat or Bard, it is a tool. And the people that will win are the subject matter experts that know how to ask the best prompts.
Yeah, I mean, look, I mean, it's integrated into chat and into Simple CRM now. So basically, you can say, "Hey, I want to recruit this candidate. They do X amount of volume. What is the best way to get their attention? I need some engaging words. Da 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 da. Act as a recruiter on Fifth Avenue. Whatever you want to do, right?"
Yep.
And it'll type it out for you, and all you got to do is just hit the insert button, and it goes into the SMS text box.
Love it. And I think there's so many other ways to leverage AI, but as we talked about, it's a tool.
Well, think about
And
this.
if you don't know how to use it properly, like it can write code. Well, guess what? I'm not a coder. I'm not a
Right.
programmer. So I'm not going to be able to really use chat to create some great code. But I do understand marketing. I understand sales and I understand the mortgage industry. So if I can really put in great prompts, man, my efficiency has gone up like that. And now I truly have a competitive advantage over the people that I'm competing against.
Well, think about this. People who are afraid of ChatGPT and taking over the world and whatever, I simply just say the one thing. Go through your telephone list of, like, say, 10 friends and verbally tell me their phone number without looking at your phone.
And they can't do it. I don't know if they can get one right. I don't know if I would. I mean, it's sad. I don't even know if I know my kid's phone number off the top of my head. I just look at my phone and I go, right?
Right? Or you say, "Hey Siri, dial," whatever, right? And
Yep.
it dials it for you. We're not any less intelligent because we do that. We're asking Siri to do something for us that we no longer need to be doing. So we can be focused.
Exactly.
Yeah, you can be focused on driving while you're doing this. All sort of stuff.
GPSs, right?
Yeah.
I mean, oh, not going to use a map. Great. I don't need to. I type it into the GPS and now I know where I'm going and it takes me where I need to go. Fobby, as we're winding down, because you have so many great things. Hey, if people are looking at how they can really stand out in the crowd, how they, as branch managers, can grow their region or whatever, they definitely need to give you a call. I want to end with two questions.
Yes, sir.
One, kind of where do you see the rest of the year going? And then what is the best way for people to get a hold of you who want to find out more about Simple CRM and some of the cool things that Homecomings is doing?
Yeah. So first and foremost, obviously I'm on LinkedIn all the time. You know what I mean? I think LinkedIn is really the best place to find me and get a hold of me, that if you really want my attention. Too many times emails kind of get spammed or get junked, so I don't always catch them. But if you text me or direct message me through LinkedIn, Fobby Naghmi on LinkedIn, I normally always will respond. Where I see the market going, Michael, I definitely see, I think Q3 is kind of a wash. You know what I mean? I don't think we're going to see anything significant happen here. I do look forward to Q4. I think mid to late November, as we approach December, you're going to start seeing some minor improvements that I think will carry us into 2024. Once again, I don't have a crystal ball. I base everything off of numbers, purely numbers. And that's what the numbers are showing us right now.
Fobby, I can't thank you enough for being a guest on this episode of the FinTech Hunting Podcast.
Thank you, Michael.